Yeah.
Perfect.
Lovely.
Is that lovely?
Pretty sexy. Baby, don't leave me.
No, I won't.
Now you know, say you need me.
Why am I?
Yeah.
So much stuff, yeah?
What's good? This is your boy Tico Trend. And this video is going to be partly scripted, something I normally don't do. It's only going to be about probably 5% scripted. So I'll pretty much go off topic and do my normal stuff. This video is going to be about society and psychology. Because this kept coming up, and this keeps, every time I talk to somebody, it always ends up being a reoccurring thing when it comes to various races of people and stuff like that. The problem that I have with society today is pretty much a byproduct of all the brainwashing and psychological warfare that they pretty much went through back in the olden days, for the most part. So it's one of those things where it's it's history. You should let the past be the past. The problem is the residual effects from the crap that you did to people still are there. It's like you want to get past it, but you don't want to deal with it, if you know what I mean. Or on top of that, the wounds are still open, but you want to walk past it like it's just the past. The problem is, like I said, the stuff done to people in the past still persists, and the residual effects still persist, along with the psychological effects still persist in society today. The problems that I have with it is people who always want to say, well, let's pass be the past, the past is the past. Here's the problem with that. One, you psychologically messed up a group of people. Two, there's emotional scars still being exhibited by certain groups of people. And three, you almost want to sweep it under the rug and not want to deal with the whole entire situation that has become what it is today. A good example of a situation is the black diaspora. Cool. The problem that I have with people, well, I don't understand why African Americans this, African Americans that. Now, I can't speak 100% for African Americans because, but I can speak for the African diaspora by saying this. When you tell somebody something for so freaking long, there's been psychological studies to prove this. Hell, you don't even have to do it that long. You only have to do it for a short period of time. If you tell somebody something negative about yourself for so long, they end up believing it. That is the problem that I have with the society as a whole, trying to move forward and not wanting to heal properly. They just want to sweep it under the rug instead of trying to do the necessary stuff to heal properly. Now, the problem that I have with that is, one, like I said, there's still scars, emotional scars that need to be dealt with. Two, there's still psychological damage that needs to be undone or worked on to actually make it better. And three, you can't just sweep it under the rug and tell people to accept the fact that it's the past. The problem with moving forward is you have to actually apologize. And you have to make the necessary steps to correct the past's actions, if you know what I mean, instead of trying to keep everybody the way they are and wanting to move forward. You can't do that. That doesn't work like that. That's not how any of this stuff works. You have to take the necessary steps so you can move forward. A good example, a good example of that is, you'll hear people complain about, I don't understand why black people are on welfare, this, that, and the other. You can't complain about something that your government set up on purpose to make them dependent on them. Because before all this welfare stuff, believe it or not, when black people had their own communities, their communities did quite well. Just contrary to popular belief in history, all the black communities did very well, from the low class ones to the middle class ones to the upper class ones. And yes, there were upper class ones. There were very, very, very nice upper class ones. Hell, they made some of the white upper class neighborhoods look like shit. And that was just facts and history. Even the black lower class neighborhoods actually made the white lower class neighborhoods look like shit. And the irony to that is a lot of the different neighborhoods actually had their own school district, and they were either comparable or better than a lot of the white school districts. So let that sink in. And a lot of these towns had their own businesses, their own banks, their own everything. Their own movie theaters, their own farmers and growers, everything. And that's the irony to it. A lot of these black towns actually had all their own stuff, and they were insulated. And this is my problem when I always say to people that when black people were integrated into society, I mean, don't get me wrong, integration is good for, to get along. However, you can't just force integration and expect everybody to be okay with the integration, if you know what I mean. That just can't happen. You actually got to take the necessary steps to do integration properly. On top of that, I don't got no problem with living together. However, what I do have a problem with is when you live together, you still want to treat a certain group of people like crap. You can't do that and expect them to be okay with it. You can't psychologically make them believe a certain thing for a very, very long time and expect them not to suffer from the psychological damages from that stuff, the psychological, physical, and mental damages of of years of conditioning. It doesn't work like that. And herein lies a rub when it comes to things like that. I'll continue this in another video, basically. I'm going to cut it short. So it'll be a part 2.